Welcome to the Real Powerhouse Podcast. I'm your host, BJ Gramillion, and today I have my good buddy Matt Hayes with us. And Matt is in St. Louis, and he has been actively investing for how many years now?
It's been 20 long years.
Seriously? See, it's rare that I find someone that's got more years in it than
And the thing is, like all my 8 years, they were not as strong as we are now, right?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
first start, I think everyone kind of infamously, well, maybe if you start now, it's different. But when you and I started, we didn't have this. We barely had internet.
Yeah.
Everybody, the iPhone hasn't.
You're dating us.
The iPhone didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Or maybe it did, and I just wasn't sure about it. We had Blackberries,
Right. Yeah, that was the thing. Blackberries. Yep.
Social media. So I picked up that purple book by the infamous legend Robert Kiyosaki, man, and I was instantly hooked. I was always drawn to business and entrepreneurship. Started my first company when I was 7 years old, and I've had probably 200 since then.
Holy smokes. Something that's really cool with Matt. So Matt's another buddy of mine from CG Collective Genius. So we're part of that mastermind group, and he's been in it longer than I have as well. But something that I guess drew me to Matt recently was in the last year. Obviously, if anyone's been living under a rock in real estate, we had kind of a tumultuous 18-month period. And so I think that some of us got hit pretty hard, some more than others. And so Matt's got a pretty cool story of how he, was able to adapt, and pivot from there. And I think that's, anytime, I guess misery does love company, right? And so you find others that are maybe struggling, like, hey, I don't got it so bad, like, hey, this guy, maybe has it worse off than I do or whatever. But, we're all kind of figuring things out, right, in business. And so that was something that attracted me to you at that time when we were kind of going through all the chaos. But maybe before we dive into all that, would love to kind of hear just some background and maybe fill us in on like your family and
So my wife and I have known each other longer than we haven't. So we're coming up on 20 years of being together, 18 years in marriage. We've got 4 kids. One we sent off to college this year, 2 more in high school, 1 in middle school, and actually it's 2 in middle school, but they both go to the same school. It's 7 through 12.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, man. So my journey is, I don't think anybody's journey is exactly the same. Like I've always had this burning desire, this ambition in my chest. This weight on my shoulders that I was destined to do more. And no matter how much I achieve or whatnot, and I really just do think that I have probably one in a very few people, maybe 1 in 10 million, the kind of drive that I just love working. I get up early and I get to it. I just don't stop, whether it's working on my family, working on my marriage, working in business, working on real estate. It just doesn't matter. I do enjoy myself because that's my hobby. I'm one of those rare people that work is my hobby. And I have no problem suiting up and talking with the CEO of Coca-Cola or getting down in the trenches, cleaning out a sewer in some overalls, with the $18 an hour worker that they've got doing that work. So I'm different. I don't sit up on a pedestal. I just get to work, man. I love hard work. People always say you got to work, smart work's better. I think that's a bunch of bullshit for peace. I think that you just got to get out there and work your ass off. Yes, there are smart things you can do, but it starts with hard work. So, if we got to put in a fence one day, we're going to do it. If I got to, like I said, get all suited up and go sit down and have a board meeting with the bank or whatever, then we got to go do that. I mean, just whatever it takes to get the job done. And yeah, so, that's my journey's, started when I was 7 or 8 years old. I started my first company. I stole sweet corn from my neighbor. I lived in a subdivision, but they built it around a farm. And every year this corn came up out of the ground. So I'm like, well, people eat sweet corn. My mom always buys it. So I went, grabbed my wagon, my little Red Ryder wagon. I know for those millennials, they don't know what that is. And I had the cool one, man. I had sides that came up so I could
Oh
load
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I went over, I took the sweet corn from the farmer, and then I went door to door and I sold it. I was selling like 5, 6, 7, I don't remember what the number was, bush or piece of sweet corn for $1. And I made like 25 bucks at like 7, 8 years old. And to
That's a
put
lot.
in perspective now, that's like $200.
Yeah.
So then I find out it wasn't sweet corn. It was feed corn. So it was like hard as a rock. And um, anyways, you learn real quick about quality control. So then I moved on to other businesses and everything like that.
Did he ever catch you?
Oh yeah, I had to give everybody their money back, man. I was just, it was literally one neighbor came out of the house as they saw me walking back, like, whoa, this isn't sweet corn. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's corn. It's from the neighbor. Then I pointed and she was like, oh, that's field corn.
That is so funny.
Because she's an adult and, obviously she knew better. But,
Yeah.
and then got a job at, did other things. I was always detailing cars or boats or fixing things, selling things, whatever I could do. I was young and dumb at the time. So when I got to about 12 years old and I was cutting like half the neighborhood's grass, doing all these different things. And I would never say no. So if my rate was 20 bucks and they said no, I'd be like, okay, how about 15? They'd say no again. I'd be like, okay, how about 10? I would mow people's grass for $5. And they're like, wow, this is weird. But
Yeah.
that's always stuck with me. So it's like, I was young. I didn't know any better. So I'm
Mhm.
like, let's just get the money. I
That
remember at
is
one point in time when I was 14 years old, I had 7 grand in cash in my bedroom.
whoa.
And
Just sitting in your bedroom.
oh yeah, this all the money I had earned, man. And then my parents found out, and they're like, you gotta put this in the bank. And I'm like, I'm not giving this money to anybody. I made it. So then they taught me
Huh.
about banking and
Yeah.
all these sorts of things. And then of course I turned 16 and I figured out girls and
Yep.
having fun, and all that money went away.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
That's
but just the burning desire to work. And I started involved in the family business. I started doing that, and then I was always doing real estate on the side.
yeah. What was the family business?
So the family business was the food service industry. So on the
Okay.
supply side, so
Okay.
they would supply all the ingredients and everything to grocery stores and C stores to make food and things of that nature. So
Hmm.
um, it was always a very profitable business for my parents. They still own it today,
Hmm.
and I still have some responsibilities over there from time to time. But my passion, I would say probably right around 21, 22, it was real estate. I picked up the book when I was 20,
Yeah.
and I didn't do my first deal until I was 22. So I was running numbers. I was making bank connections. I remember I put on a
Hmm.
suit when I met with a realtor for the first time. I did everything wrong that you could possibly think of. I failed so many times in this business.
Yeah.
Um, and we didn't have coaches and
No.
seminars and meetups
Mm-mm.
and all this stuff. I mean, some of the legends that first put on all the coaching and the meetups, like Cody Sperber was one of the first ones. Robert Kiyosaki was the first one. I signed up for his big expensive program, and I went through that, and I was probably one of the only people that were successful in that program.
Hmm.
Because you give me a little bit of information, and I'm just going to tear it to pieces. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man,
man,
that's
it's been an awesome journey. Fixing and flipping and wholesaling, and now it's primarily the Airbnb business because the way we have pivoted.
mhm.
And our pivot's been interesting because like last 18 months to 2 years, it's been like a friggin' roller coaster, dude.
I know, I know, and yeah. But before we get into that, I want to go over a couple of things that you went through in your story because,
Yeah, hit
first of
them,
all,
dude.
it's so awesome to hear someone else cut from the same cloth because I think sometimes there's that guilt. Yeah, I used to feel guilty for a while when people would be like, "So what's your hobby? What do you like to do?" And I was like, honestly, like I don't know what else there is besides work and family. Like, and that's honestly what I just enjoy doing. And it's just
Oh,
it's a hobby. It's everything to me. And I'm sure that that is unhealthy on many levels, but
I
I
don't
don't.
think so.
Okay.
I don't think it is, man. So remove the guilt there because when my son has a football game, I'm there. When my daughter
Right.
has a
Right.
dance competition, I'm there. Someone
Yep.
needs to be picked up at practice or taken to school or picked up, or my son's got a soccer game at 4:15. I'm there. I don't miss
Yeah.
anything. I
Yep.
will plan business meetings. My family comes first, period, because I don't
Yeah.
give a shit what anybody else thinks. And there was a point of my time in my 30s, which wasn't that long ago,
Yep.
where I truly cared what a lot of people thought about me and what I was doing. And maybe I was doing things and I made decisions based off of other people. But
Yeah.
you get in this, you get halfway through life, right?
Yep.
I'm on the downhill slope now. I'm
Uh-huh.
past 40.
Uh-huh.
You really just don't give a shit anymore. It's like, no, man, this is the way I'm going to live my life. And I don't care what your opinion is of how me. You can own that opinion.
Yeah.
Whether you think I'm doing it right or you think I'm doing it wrong, because I really don't care. Like,
That is so funny. Again, I hit 40 this year and I've been saying that all year. I'm like, I don't know what it is. It's a magical thing that happens, but you just stop caring, you
mhm,
know? And it really did take me to about 40 when I was like, man, why do I care? First of all, nobody really does care about you. Like as much as you
no,
think that they do. They care
yeah,
about themselves, right? And they could care less. Like you don't even cross their mind for the most part. But we all think that we're more important than we are, when in reality, everyone's got stuff going on. And so you're just not that important, first of all. So get that off. And then, yeah, the second thing is, you know what? Like, who cares what other people think? And so I love that you're saying all the things I've been saying for a while. So
I
we must
know.
be the same age. And, it's just
Well,
funny.
yeah, dude. And part of it is too, because last couple of years, I was putting faith in a lot of people
Mm,
that were involved in my company. And I realized that we were going through I'm going to use Connor McGregor's quote here.
hmm
He says that I will not feast with anyone that would not starve with me.
mm,
So if you're just here for the winnings and the victories and all that stuff, and you're not willing to starve with me, forget it. I don't want to feast with you. And so the past couple of years, when our business went through, and a lot of other, real estate companies went through, we had to pivot fast, and those that didn't pivot fast don't exist anymore, sadly.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I put some faith in some people that I shouldn't have, and that'll never happen again. And I realized real quickly when things got bad, who was jumping ship and who was cutting bait, and who was going out and doing their own thing, which is the same thing I was doing, even though they were under non-competes. And I don't want to get into all that kind of crap,
Yeah.
but it's been a very interesting 18 to 24 months for real estate. Anybody in real estate, whether you're an agent, um, and I don't necessarily think, and I'm probably going to get some shit for this from my agent friends. My wife's an agent, so I can say this. I don't really think they're in real estate. I think that they're a service provider for real estate.
Mm,
Same
yeah.
thing like a title company and a mortgage company and a bank and all those sorts of things. They
hmm
provide a service for the real estate and for the investors. You and I are in real estate. We own the property, we manage the property. And so
Yeah.
anybody that's in this business that isn't getting creative to figure out how to make money, then they won't be in it very much longer. And I'm seeing that a lot, man, a lot all over
Mm.
the place, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I love that quote. In fact, we're definitely going to share that clip with everyone with Conor McGregor. That's the first time I've
You
heard
have
that.
to, dude,
And
because
I
I
love
heard that and I'm like, holy shit, that's what I've been saying.
that's it.
It's like I'm
Yeah,
sick and tired of no, I'm going on a vacation with my family, dude, because they've
yeah,
starved with me.
yeah,
Like, and I think that's it. I think when you're younger, you want your circle to just be huge, and you want to bring all these cool people in here and all this, dude. No, I got my circle tight. I
yeah.
mean, and another quote from a friend of mine that nobody knows who she is, so I won't say her name or anything like that. Just a
Mhm.
really good family friend, and she's like, "You laugh the loudest around the people that you trust the most."
Wow.
So if someone tells you a joke or something's funny, you're not going to give your true laugh. But if you're
Yeah,
around someone you trust, their guard is down and they're just going to let it fly.
yeah,
And so I noticed that
hmm
the more you trust someone and the more they trust you, the louder they get, the more fun they have, because they know there's no judgment involved. It's
yeah,
because we're connecting on a personal level. So like my friend group with my wife and I mean, it is probably 30 and below.
Yeah.
30
Interesting.
people are in my circle.
Yeah.
Um, I got my
Yeah.
brother, my best friend. I've got my parents, some of her siblings, and then some really close family friends that our kids share interests in that I've known for an insanely long time.
Yeah. Isn't
And
it interesting too? Because I just feel like for the longest time in business and for whatever reason, I'm a nice person, right? And so I don't like to offend anyone. In fact, any type of confrontation terrifies me. It always has. I can't stand it. I don't like to confront people. Again, it helps getting older. That kind of gets removed, going through tough times, obviously business, that helps remove it. But yeah, I mean, to your point about laughing the hardest with people that you love and trust the most, it's, the opposite is also true where there's certain people in business that it feels like you're always having to walk on eggshells with, and you're always
yeah,
having to like
yeah,
prop them up and make them feel good. And for whatever reason, for a long time in business, I was always just, doing that. And it was like, I felt like I couldn't be myself or just say what was on my mind. And so how refreshing is it? Yeah. When that circle gets real small after you go through a famine and you realize, oh, I had a pretty big circle there for a long time. All of a sudden that went down significantly, like, 90% almost. It feels like sometimes
yep.
because, you're just in that survival mode. And so that's so interesting. So I would love to actually, okay, so your journey and what you're doing right now is obviously different than what got you, to this point before. So would love to hear about, what you went through with
Yeah.
the downturn and how you pivoted, what you did, all that. I would love to
Cool.
learn the details on
So
that.
I'll give you the real estate journey, and then that kind of morphed into the business side of things. So
Cool.
in 2009, whenever the crash happened,
Mhm.
um, that's when my brother and I really went in both feet into real estate, and we started buying up houses and we were renting them out. Before that, I had done some real estate, but like I said, it wasn't. I've been in it 20 years, but not the level that I'm at. When anybody just kind of starts, they're dabbling in it. So
Yeah.
a property here, some land there, a trailer here, a deal there, wherever you can find it to try to make money.
Mhm.
Well, it wasn't until the crash that we started getting insanely aggressive about buying. We were probably sending, and back then it was cherry. All the deals were on the MLS.
Yep.
Wholesalers were making $2,500 as a wholesale fee. Like that was
Yep.
their fee.
Mhm.
Anybody making more than that was greedy and nobody wanted to talk to them.
Yep.
So let's go back. That was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So for 2009 to 2011, we were buying. In my mind, it was a lot of real estate, but right now it was not a lot of real estate. If I
Yep.
had my head on right, I would have gone and got private capital and bought a bazillion of them houses for pennies on the dollar.
Mhm.
Pennies. I'm talking $5,000 for a house today. It's worth $250.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Hmm.
And of course, a lot of people say that, and a lot of people know that now. So that will never happen again
Yeah.
in my lifetime. We're not going to have that crash. Um,
Agreed.
I, we are going to go through some corrections,
Hmm.
but that market, that kind of buying frenzy will never happen again. Because it wiped out too much. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off topic here. So that's what I did. We were buying, fixing, and flipping. We really cut our teeth. Not flipping, excuse me. We were buying, fixing, and renting. We
Hmm.
didn't know about the burst strategy. We didn't know all these creative ways, so we were using our cash and
Oh,
doing
okay.
this.
Yeah.
In 2014 and 15, we were like, "Oh my gosh, the real estate doubled, man. We got to sell." So we sold off that portfolio, and then it tripled. So we left an insane amount of money on the table, but at the time
Mhm.
we thought it was good money.
Yep.
But I reinvested that. My brother went and did some other things. So that's kind of when we parted ways. He went and ran the family business, and I was still part of that, but I was really into my real estate game. So now it was just Blair and me at the time. So this was not a big company. This was an LLC with a lot of hustle and blood, sweat, and tears. It's where I learned to lay flooring and sheetrock and paint and tile and all the different things, what a sill plate was, what an HVAC was, what a water heater was, all these different things, all this knowledge, rehabbing, all those homes. That's the knowledge that I have today. And so, I can just look at things now. I can do my own home inspections and all that stuff because I know what I'm looking for. And so right around 2018 is where we really started cranking things up. Blair and I were probably buying about 5 to 6 houses a year.
Hmm.
And for us at the time, just me and her, that was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then a friend of mine, Jason Palliser, still a good buddy to this day, he's like, man, he sat me down and we talked about off-market lead strategies and how to really grow that business and that side of that marketing engine. And so I did. And now I started getting all these extra leads and I didn't know what to do with them really. So I started wholesaling those off. So as I'm cutting my teeth, building up my portfolio of rentals, in 2020, something interesting happened. We bought our 2019. We bought our first Airbnb property in Florida, and at the same time, we started really our wholesale business. I'm kind of getting these dates a little mangled in my head, but
No.
what I'm trying to get at is here. There was one January, and I think it was 2020, where we wholesaled and made $225,000. And for Blair and I, that was like, holy shit. I mean, it was an insane amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it still is to this day. I still think that that's a lot of money.
Yep.
And so what did I do? I did the dumbest thing you could possibly think of. I hired all these people and I'm like, we're going to take this motherfucker to the moon. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And dude, I just hired everybody I hired was wrong. There was one person that's still with us today. I hired some lazy, ambitious people.
Mm-hmm.
I hired some unqualified people. And we never did $225,000 again in a month.
Wow.
Never hit that again. And mind you, that was 1 month with no expenses. Blair and I, that's it. And so as that struggle was going on, it turned into almost like a perfect storm because we then got this hedge fund that was buying our houses. And so instead of wholesaling them, what we would do is buy the houses, renovate them because we had to own them for 45 days before they could take possession. So we would get under contract, buy the house, renovate the house, and then sell it to them. And it was going like clockwork. Well, then last year, the rates changed and they just kept trickling up. And I should have seen the writing on the wall middle of last year, early to mid of last year, when they pulled a couple contracts and then retraded on a couple. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. We can weather this. Let's just keep going. Should have been the writing on the wall. Then come August, they pulled all the contracts. So I was stuck with 42 houses. 42 that I was renovating. 42 house payments, 42 insurance payments, 42 electric bills, 42 of everything. So it was probably the most stressful time of my entire life as a man. My confidence was shaken. My judgment was shaken. Everything about, what I had learned and done and everything like that had been shaken. So all that money that we had made was to pay for all these people and pay for the business and the marketing and all this stuff. Meanwhile, I signed some shitty marketing contracts with some marketing agencies that totally raked me over the coals. Those are just contract, by the way. I absolutely hate marketing companies. I'll never sign a deal with one ever again as long as I live. They're contract horse, period. That's another topic. But we did win our lawsuit, by the way.
Oh, good.
Because their attorney did not show up to court.
Oh, wow.
I guess I was the only one that ever challenged them.
Wow.
And they didn't show up, and we won the lawsuit. So,
wow.
So that was good news about a month ago.
What was
But
your monthly marketing expense during that time when you had those 42 home? Like, what was your total, I guess, expense?
we were spending probably about 175 a month,
Okay,
175 to 200K a month.
very
That's why I
similar.
said we never made that kind of net profit again. We hit that 1 month of 225, and I should have just shoved it all in a fucking in 2 or 3 houses and just kept doing my own little thing. But I
Yep,
figured that if I can do 225 on my own, oh my
yep,
gosh, if I hire all these people and do this team, we can do 5, 6, 700. And that
yep.
stupid me, like
Sales. Yep.
no one's going to work as hard as I am. Nobody's going to have the knowledge I have unless,
Yeah,
and maybe it's just me. I'm not huge on building all these policies and procedures and all this stuff, and then relying on all these other people to have the ambition and the work ethic and everything that I do. It became a massive struggle.
yeah.
Um, so I got out of that. I weathered the storm. I paid I didn't miss a bill. I may have been late on some here or there. Um,
Wow.
we converted some to long-term rentals. We converted some to short-term rentals. I
Mhm.
fire saled a few, I wholesaled a few, and I flipped a few.
Wow.
I mapped it all out on those massive post-it sheets that you can get at
Yep.
Office Max, and I had them all littered in my office here.
Yeah.
And we grinded, and it was 30 hours a day. I was fucking working, and you had no choice.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, contractors were stealing from me last year. It was a
When it
blur.
rains, it pours. I don't know what that principle is with.
It's true, man. And I was the cloud. I was
Yeah.
the cloud. I fucked it all up. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. You got to have personal ownership on this stuff. Sure,
Yep.
can I sit back and say it was someone else's fault? No, I hired those people. I signed those marketing contracts. I picked that contractor. And what's amazing is honestly, I think how God works, and He has totally turned this around for me. He would not let me quit. My wife wouldn't let me quit. And every time I looked at my kids, like they wouldn't let me quit. They didn't need to say anything, but I knew that I wouldn't.
Mhm.
And so, dude, we weathered it, and now we're like, I'm totally happy. We're profitable. Blair's adding like 9 Airbnbs this month. She started short term rental property management.
Mhm.
So not only are she managing her own stuff, she's other people because of my social media and stuff. I guess
Mhm.
what little followers I have here in St. Louis, they see what I'm doing, and if they're interested in the game, then they'll reach out, and Blair manages the assets, and so
Wow.
it's just how it all turns, dude. And now we have several Airbnbs. Um, and it's a good little business, dude. And I'm totally happy. And thank God I got hooked up with CG because some of the stuff that Jason and Leon and Ren,
Yeah.
some of them dudes, dude, that I've learned so much from.
Mhm.
Um, and they were always ahead of the curve. And unfortunately, I was new to the mastermind group.
Mhm.
I would have probably definitely halted on some of those decisions I had made, but that's the point, dude. You live and learn. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I took the story of how 42 properties were pulled out from underneath me, and
Mhm.
uh, what are you going to do? I'm not going to call the bank and say, "Hey, dude, they're yours." No, man, I'm going to figure it out. Like, I still want to be in this business because I know the power of real estate, and now I truly know.
Yeah.
So I'm done flipping. I'm done wholesaling. The
Mhm.
only thing that we want to do now is grow our portfolio, and
Wow.
we're growing it with the cash flow that we make. So we can buy about a house a month, but I'm really only buying like one every 3 months.
Mhm.
And I'm only going to grow 4 or 5 houses a year. And I'm going to add those to our portfolio. Blair's going to add more that she manages. And if I continue that path for 20 years, it's probably $100 million portfolio. Like, that's the thing about this game, dude, is that so many people get caught up on the new shiny ball, the new coach with the new thing and the new Instagram reel. And it's like, and if you're constantly sold on all that, I mean, it urges you to just sit back, take a breath, and relax.
Yeah.
Find one person that you mesh with, learn from them, and slowly build your portfolio. Like, you don't need to go out there and Cody Sperber or Pace Morby this. Like, I get that those guys are the goats of this business. And, Cody's wholesaling $1 million a month, and Pace has got all these sub two deals and all this stuff. I get it. Kudos to him. He built an amazing marketing machine where he's got students bringing him deals.
Yeah.
But, for those people that are interested in getting in this business, no matter what shape, way, or form, first you have to understand it is a business. Second, you have to understand is that I want you to figure out how to acquire the asset and get somebody else to pay for it while you own it.
Man.
So if you can follow those simple things, you're going to do just fine. And whether that exit strategy for the income side is Airbnb or long-term tenant, I don't care what you choose. I hate long-term tenants because I don't want to rehab my houses every 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Dude, I've evicted people, and then the fucking house needs to be rehabbed. I rehabbed it a year ago. Why do I got to rehab it again? Because we picked a bad tenant.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Airbnb is all sunshine and rainbows, but
Yeah.
washing machine goes out was recent. Someone smoked some weed in the house. That was recent. We had some unapproved guests. But
doesn't matter. Yeah. What business model you're in. Right. There are going to be issues, but
there's going to be challenges in everything that you do.
There is.
It's all just how you approach it. And for me, I like Airbnb because the cash flow is 4 times as much as a long-term tenant.
Yep. And it works for you guys. Man, there are so many. I hope that people can just honestly rewind, re-listen to all those nuggets that are in your journey right there. Because to your point, like we were talking about, hey, when we were your age, right? When we back in the day, 2008, there wasn't podcasts, there wasn't masterminds, there wasn't
TV. We had TV,
right? Yeah, we had cable television maybe is all we had. But it's so crazy because now people can learn from what you had to go through. But it's funny because even though we can hear these stories, we still need to go through them, and we still need to go stumble through all of those things on our own. Even if I'm with you, Leon and Jason, those guys at Collective Genius, they were telling us for 2 solid years when the economy was on fire to always have some reserves, take some chips off the table, don't go all in, don't spend all this money on marketing, blah, blah, blah. Scaling is a vanity metric, right? And don't get caught up in comparing. They would say that every quarter. And how many of us actually listened to what they were telling us? I bet you it's less than 1%.
I do know some guys that listened, and I know some guys that didn't.
Yeah.
And I was one of those guys that obviously wasn't there to listen because I'm only 1 year in CG.
Yeah. You're only 1 year? I thought you had been in for a couple of years. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
One buddy, he listened. And he timed it right, and
good for him.
Yeah, that was Rob. He was
really,
yeah.
Oh dude. Man, good for him. Because
I know.
I was like, what do these guys know? They don't know our market. Our market's different than everyone else.
Man, and I find it so interesting because everything that you need to know about real estate, it's out there. Go get it. You can get it on social media. You can get it on YouTube, all that stuff. But there's one thing that you cannot get. And that is the failures of those people. They're not going to put them out there. I failed at this. I failed at this. I failed at this. They're not going to do that. Yeah. They're just going to try to sell you their products and sell you their services. So Noah, who is one of the great things that came out of that catastrophic mess, the bowl of spaghetti last couple of years, Noah is a 23-year-old genius. And so we started and actually made him a partner because he is someone that starved with me. I made him a partner in STR Accelerator Academy. So we started a coaching company, and we're not geniuses at the whole marketing game and how to get the new students and all of that, but the students that we do have are highly successful and we have a very, very good batting average with them because we're doing a one-on-one coaching approach. We're holding their hand through this whole process of Airbnb. And so we it's pretty amazing how that has shaped up. We're not doing a bazillion students. We're doing 20 students a month, man. I mean, it's not, I don't need to do a ton of that. I just want to make sure that the quality is there and we're actually changing people's lives. Because I believe that if somebody were to get in real estate and get in it the right way for the right reasons with the right people, you can really change your financial future.
Yeah.
And if you stay away from the shiny balls, if you would just buy one house a year, like say you got mom and dad, husband and wife, 3 kids, they're working full-time jobs, 40 hours a week. If they would just figure out how to buy one house a year for 20 years, it's 20 houses. That's probably a $5 to $8 million retirement bucket when they're done or when they're, retiring. And I've seen it in my portfolio. So what we do now is, I really wish I could pull my portfolio up and show you, but I'll try to give you the nuts and bolts of it. Every time it gets to 52.5% LTV, it triggers a refi. So, and then we refi up to 75%. Don't ask me why 52.5. That's just the friggin' number we chose when we were doing our math.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but then we refi up to 75. We take all that cash out. Again, it's a non-taxable event. So the last one we did was this year. It was like 1.8 million. We took that cash out. I took half of it and I did what Jason told me to do. I put it in a CD and not touching it. I take the other half and we're buying real estate. And so now the next time that happens, when it gets to 52.5% LTV, we're going to do it again. And the math shows that it'll happen about every 3.5 to 4 years, depending on a market correction, because inflation and appreciation are going to do their thing. Everything I buy is on a 20-year note, so a little bit less cash flow, but we're paying principal down more. Because I don't like 30 years because it's so hard to pay any principal down on those. Yeah. So it takes longer to get to that spread of equity. So we get to 52.5. Again, it's projected in like 3.5 to 4 years. At that point in time, it's probably going to be about 6 million we pull out. Do the same thing. I'll take 3. I'll put it in a bucket. Take 3 and I'll go buy more real estate. Where I'm getting at is I'm 40. By the time I'm 65, it'll be $120 million portfolio of just single family houses. They're all going to be legacy houses. I'm never going to sell any. I may retrade some. Like we're just going through a retrading cycle right now where I'm getting rid of 5 that I don't consider them flips. I consider them, I don't want to be in those markets anymore. 2 are in Illinois. 2 are in an area I don't really like. So I'm trading those for better assets.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want the areas where I have to worry about driving down the street. I don't want the areas where the taxes are too high or the house is in poor condition. So we're looking for assets that are strong foundations, good sticks and bricks, and that are going to last the next 40 to 50 years without any major complications. And so I just analyzed the whole portfolio because that's what Jason told me to do. He's like, dude, look at everything. No, label it 1 to all the way down and get rid of the bottom 5. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yes, sir. So we're getting rid of the bottom 5. I'm negotiating with my tenants right now on a couple of them. Another, a little golden nugget. I've got 4 tenants. 1 house is vacant. 4 houses. The leases are up next year, but I want to sell them now because the market is still stupid hot. I'm offering them $2,000 cash plus free September plus their security deposit. So it's in the world of like $5,000 to $6,000 that they will get if they get out of my house by October 1st. Probably, hopefully 2 or 3 take me up on it. Yeah. And I will let you know if they do. But if they do, I give them the cash. I get my house back. Normally, they don't damage it on the way out because they need all that money. I mean, that's one of the contingencies. It's better than going through the eviction phase because 1 in 5 is surely not going to leave, and I'm going to have to evict them.
Mhm.
That takes 3 to 6 months to get them out, and it takes about $2 to $4 grand to do it, plus my interest, plus the taxes, plus the insurance, and all that stuff. So we cash for keys. It's got a million names, whatever. I've done it in the past, but I want them out now because a house in the similar area got like 12 offers on it, and I have another one that looks just like it. So I'm just taking a little bit of that money that I know I'm going to get over asking and giving it to the tenant so they get out so I can get rid of the asset. Put the capital in the bank and retrade up and do our thing. So I know there was a lot to digest there. But
There is a lot to digest there. And again, guys, you're just listening to a sage, right? Like this is someone that's been through it. He's seen all the mistakes. He's been through them. And these are all the things that he's learned. And I love like what you're sharing is the Millionaire Next Door book. This is what they look like, right?
Yeah.
They don't have flashy clothes and nice suits, and they don't drive these fancy cars. They're a lot like Matt. They're the Airbnb beast, right? So
that's it, dude. I'm pretty sure I bought this shirt 5 years ago, and a friend gave me this hat. So, yeah, dude.
That's what they look like, right? And the more, the older you get, the more you realize that the guys with the money and the gals, obviously, those with the money, you'll never know. And that's what I love about Millionaire Next Door is you're just like, man, they could be right next door, you know? And we know it because we'll do some financing with some of these guys. And we'll say, hey, what do you think? And they're like, well, I got, I don't know, a couple million sitting around. You're like, you what? Like you're a fireman or you're a, how on earth?
I love that. I love that book, that saying. And it does get so much criticism by a lot of people, but they want you to buy their products.
Right.
I always think that there's someone else, there's always a motive behind someone going against the grain about true financial advice that's worked for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, if you look at the person with the fanciest car, the fanciest house, the fanciest getup, what's in their bank account is not what you think. And you think because they got the new whatever Ferrari or whatever, the Corvette, like did they finance it?
Yep.
Like, did they finance a $400,000 car?
Yep.
When I know guys, millionaires, that seriously look like they rolled out of bed sometimes.
Yeah.
2 of them are good friends of mine. One is my business mentor that didn't charge me a penny, but he made me work for it.
Yeah.
The dude, he's not in the 3 comma club, but he blew past 2 commas a long time ago. And this dude, you wouldn't know it. He drives a red fucking Ford pickup truck. That's probably 5 years old. And he dresses in jeans and a polo to work every day. That's it.
Man, I love that. I mean, it's like you want to be like the Warren Buffett, right? Where I always think about him. And it's funny. I read his book and he was like, look, if the market's doing really, he goes to McDonald's every day, by the way.
I know. I saw it too.
So he's like, look, if the market's doing really well, I'll buy 2 and splurge, right? But if it's not, I'll have to just stick with 1, right? And you're like, okay, you're worth, hundreds of billions of dollars. And, you're saying things like that. But it does. It puts in perspective. He lives in the same home in Nebraska that he's lived in for 40 years. And he just doesn't care, but he understands compound interest, which I think is what you hit on more than anything.
100%. I'm taking
compound.
I'm taking what, and people, I've gotten asked this a couple of times. Well, why are you refinancing them? And why don't you just pay them off? Because so what I did was I did both spreadsheets. I did what happens if I just run them till they're debt free, the Dave Ramsey route. So I run them till they're debt free, and it's about a $45 million portfolio. With a 45 net worth, not like what the assets are worth. So this is net worth At my 65 years, my 25 years from now, my
Mhm.
retirement. Well, it's that why 65? I had to put a number on there. I don't know. What do you want me to put? 80?
Yeah.
Then I ran it, doing it my way, pulling out the cash, reinvesting, pulling out the cash, reinvesting, et cetera, et cetera. And it's 5x, or no, excuse me, it's 3x,
Mm.
close to 3x, about 2.5.
Mhm.
And the cash flow is substantially more.
Yeah.
So that is just on the equity.
Yeah.
That's not on the cash flow.
Mhm.
So the cash flow is in the seven figures. Um, and so why would I? The point is that you always need leverage. That's the point of this game of real estate.
Thank you. Yep, that's one of the pillars of real estate. There's 4 pillars. One of them is leverage. Use it. You can't do that in stock market. You
What are
can't
your
go.
4 pillars? Let me try to guess them. Cash
Yeah.
flow, depreciation. No.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Appreciation and leverage.
That's it.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
We speak the same language, dude.
I
We're
know.
in
I'm
the
telling you,
game.
I could almost finish your sentences and vice versa, which is what I
Yeah.
love about these. When you get the right
Yeah.
people on, you're like, man, I could talk all day. Like this is just 100% preaching to the choir. But obviously, we got to end it here. But I do want to ask. I like to finish up by asking a couple questions.
Sure. Fire away.
So the first is going to be: is there like a book or podcast that you've read recently that's had an impact on you?
So I'm guilty. I have not read a book in a while. But my favorite book, everybody's got to say the Holy Bible. That's a God-fearing man. I only read that thing when I'm in church. But my favorite book that I would offer someone to read is Obsessed by Grant Cardone.
Oh, okay.
Grant Cardone is one of my real estate mentors that I kind of look up to. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Because he's way up on the big boy level.
Yep.
And listening and watching his not content,
Yeah.
don't people watching this, don't mistake a 45-second or 1 minute short or reel
Mhm.
for a 45-minute long video. I don't know if he still does this, but several years ago he was doing 1 hour Cardone Capital. He was breaking numbers down. People would call in. They would go over the deals. He would go over the deals, and he'd run his numbers, and he would share it. And so that's when it triggered with me to run my numbers. It's probably where I got the 52.5%.
Yeah.
To run the numbers this way and put them in with the power of leverage. Now his triggers at 67.5% to refi.
Okay.
So that's what I would encourage someone to do. Is to read that book. It's Obsessed. So if I can grab it quickly. I got it on the shelf up there. But I probably rented it.
I've read that one, yeah.
I probably lent it to someone that did not return it. That was a good business book. And then the last fun book I read was Dethroning the King. It was our Anheuser-Busch story. So I'm a St. Louis guy, and so our brewery got taken from us by InBev a long time ago. So that was a good story. But
oh man, that's cool. Right on.
Podcast, man. I don't really listen to too much.
Yeah.
I listen to anything around Airbnb just because I want to be present.
Yeah.
With the new stuff and what's coming. I actually have some stuff on my Facebook group page.
Yeah.
That we've done around that topic. So if anybody's interested in that, go in there and
yes. And at the end of the show, I'm going to definitely put the link on there. And I don't think I need to, encourage anyone to do it that's interested in Airbnbs to look into it. I think after listening to this, like it's pretty evident that if you want to scale and scale quickly and not scale the wrong way, right? Like do it in the right way, consistent, boring, all that, like definitely reach out, to Matt and his team. And I'm sure that he can obviously point in the right direction. So we'll put that in the notes. But yeah, the second question I like to ask is, okay, if you're able to go back 2009, knowing what you know now, like what's maybe one or two things that you would have done different now that you've gone through all of this and you get to start all over knowing what you know?
Dude, I have, as corny as it sounds, let me try to find it here.
The journal.
I've got a business plan if it ever does happen again.
Wow.
So,
I love that.
exactly what I will do if that kind of crash ever happened. It's at my fingertips. I've reread it. I've added to it. I've put notes in it. It's all digital now. That was back in the.
Where did you have you published it somewhere or?
Oh God, no! This is my shit, bro.
Okay, this is just for you. Yeah.
I will happily share with CG,
Yeah.
but in that event, in the
Mhm.
perfect storm,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of people forget when they thought we were going to hit this crash. In 2018, they thought real estate was going to crash.
Yeah.
19 was going to crash. 2020 and 21 and 3 and
Yeah.
now it's 2023. Interest rates are 800%, and I got 12 offers on
going up.
house.
Yeah.
It's still going up.
Yeah.
So the perfect storm
Mhm.
was the financial stock market, real estate, and auto.
Yeah.
High unemployment, gas crazy high.
Mhm.
So much happened. People were ridiculously broke. Middle class was broke. Rich people were broke. Real estate investors went bust. They had a portfolio worth 100 million. It went to 20 million. All those sorts of things. Over leveraged. You could get 110% loan. Like how does that happen?
Yeah.
All those sorts of things. So if that ever does happen again, obviously the first things first, you got to take care of home base and make sure you can survive and weather that. So I'm not planning for that, but I'm always thinking that could happen, that drawer needs to open and I have to grab that document.
Yeah.
But as far as how I would invest, because it's twofold. It's first, take care of home, make sure you're good. Nothing's going to bad happen there. You got money in the bank. You got your reserves. You got 9 months of expenses to live in case you didn't have a dime left coming in. But then how would you invest and how would you just destroy everything? Well, if it did happen the way that it did then, or in a very similar fashion, I don't think it would be the same way because when all those foreclosures hit, the hedge funds also took a bust. So they didn't have any buyers for all these properties. So they went to the general public. They found agents that put them on the MLS. And you could type in on the MLS, bank owned, and you'd have 5,000 in your market that you could just cherry pick from.
Mm-hmm.
But if the market drops 80%, like you're going to have certain investors that are going to go into a massive buying frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
So what I will do is I want to partner with people like BJ, Ren, Jason, Rob. I'm naming all my CG buddies here. Yep. And we're going to pool our resources together and we're going to attack this battle plan. All right, guys, how much money, financing, capital can you commit to this pool? And this is the plan. We're going to buy good houses with good sticks and bricks, starting with the foundation on up. We're not going to buy them in stupid, dumb areas. We're going to buy them in areas where I know that the market is going to appreciate over a 5-year period. We're not going to get into any rehab that's going to take us longer than 3 weeks to a month. We're going to renovate it. We're going to get somebody in there. They're going to pay the mortgage. And we have to ride this thing out for five years. And then at the end of 5 years, we'll have a judgment if we want to go, and then we'll extend it 1 year at a time. And then that one portfolio could be worth over $1 billion, depending on how much money, how much resources, because it cannot come from Wall Street and the banks, because those are the people that crashed it last time. So they were dead broke. Mm-hmm. So it's got to come from people like us that are smart and have been in this game long enough to know, because no one's going to lend you on your real estate that you already have. Mm-hmm. So this, like, say if my shit goes down to 52.5%, well, a lender's not going to lend me any money because the market's coming down. So they're going to be nervous as shit. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to pool your resources. And so, like, I'll do that. I'll pull the resources together, the people that I know. I'll lay out the plan. This is what we're going to do. If we can buy 2,000 houses, 5,000 houses, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to pay cash for every single one of them. If we can get lending on them, we will probably still be able to get 50 to 60% lending on them. And we'll do that to leverage them. If not, we're just going to burr right through it. And I'll quit everything else I'm doing. And that is all I will focus on, is building that portfolio. And then we'll plan for an exit. And who knows? So,
Okay, that is the best answer that I've heard by far. And clearly you have practiced that. You've thought a lot about it. And so you came ready. Man, you would have thought that I prepped you beforehand for that
No.
question. But
Gotta
that
have a
was
battle plan, dude. And
you were
gotta have
ready.
a battle plan. If the house is burning down, what are you doing? That's
Oh,
something that I learned a long time ago. So a good buddy of mine, his business out in Warrenton burned to the ground. And you
mhm.
know what he had?
Hmm.
Straight face. We got a battle plan. Let's go to work. Had their mobile offices set up in 2 hours. Whole business burned down. 400 employees. Nobody died. Nothing like that happened in the middle of the night. A $9 surge protector burned down the business. 2 hours later, as the mother was on fire, mobile office is set up. He put one person in charge of media, another person in charge. I mean, they just went right down the line, dude. And by the end of the night, nothing missed a beat. And I'm like, my jaw was on the ground.
Yeah,
And
sure.
this is my business mentor. He won't let me name his name ever.
Yeah.
Um, but he's like, Matt, you have to have a battle plan for everything. Every scenario, life is a chessboard. So if your queen gets taken or you lose a rook or the board catches on fire in that case, you got to have a plan for it. So in my spare time, I work on battle plans for finances. And so like last year, like I now have a battle plan in keeping myself disciplined on never letting that happen again.
Yeah.
So now I have a much better handle on certain things, but I'm still going to make mistakes, dude. Like
Yeah.
we're still going to fail. And if you're not failing forward,
Mhm.
if you fail and then you're just like, okay, I'm never doing real estate again. Well, that's dumb. There's a million ways to do real estate.
Yeah.
Maybe you failed as an agent. You
Yeah.
should have been a
Right.
mortgage broker. Maybe you failed as a mortgage broker and you should have been a contractor.
Mhm.
Maybe you failed as a contractor, but you should have been an investor. I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, no one's perfect, dude. We're all sinners. We're all, creatures here just trying to figure this figure this game out. So
Yeah. Holy smokes. This was good. You brought all the heat. Cannot thank you enough. I learned so much just listening to you. In fact, I got a lot to work on after listening to
yeah,
you. Quite like hanging out with high
dude.
level players that, are just masters of their craft and they're always trying to get better. And I love that. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, right on, dude. Thanks, PJ. Appreciate you.